Please rise for the pledge. I
pledge
pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the village board meeting of April 11th. Roll call. Caprows.
Here.
Possession.
Here.
Gennady.
Here.
Terry.
Here.
Stacy.
Here.
Kraus.
Here.
Before we get into the rest of the meeting, we're just going to start right out with our oath of office for Sergio Garcia, who is our new full-time police officer, replacing Andy Leroy. And before we get started up here, Chief Fleming, did you want to say a few
Yes,
words?
Madam President, members of the village board, thanks. Good evening. It's my pleasure today to introduce Sergio Garcia. Sergio is our newest police officer. A little bit about him: he's married, he's got one child. They're all here today to go with his family. Thanks for coming. And Sergio is 33 years old. He lives in Munster. He lives nearby, but he speaks fluent Spanish, so it's a great asset for the department. He's a great candidate, and we're really flattered to have him on the department. So, Sergio, if you want to come up and pick somebody to pin the badge on you.
My wife, Amelia.
Okay.
I just want to know what bucket to go with you. Wait, are they doing this remote? Only one of you in the room at a time. Stay here.
Raise your right hand to take the oath and repeat after me. I, Sergio J. Garcia,
I, Sergio J. Garcia,
having been appointed to the position of police officer
having been appointed to the position of police officer
in the village of Beecher
in the village of Beecher
in the county of Will,
in the county of Will,
and do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
of patrol officer to the best of my ability.
of patrol officer of the best of my ability.
You're done. Congratulations. This will be for you, and your badge.
Can you face this way, both like that? Perfect. You don't have to attach it. That's perfect.
Because I do the payroll
Okay.
and the benefits.
All right.
I'll probably.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right. Congratulations. Thanks. Thank you.
You can do it. It's super interesting. You don't have to-
Thank you,
You'll
sir.
be working with me one day this week,
All right.
or next week.
Thank you, sir.
You'll be going on an auto fest.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir.
You go there now, that's your.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
You too. Welcome. Congratulations.
Fun in the academy. They still do the red man? Okay. Do they still do the red man down there? Red man suit?
Yeah. At the academy.
Okay, you've got minutes in your packet for two meetings. There's minutes for March 14th for our regular board meeting. Does anyone have any changes or additions? If not, can we have a motion to approve?
Make the motion. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Roll call. Caprows.
Yes.
Possession.
Yes.
Gennady.
Yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
And then the minutes for the workshop for our workshop meeting yet for for March 28th. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Giannotti,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Capros.
Yes.
Does anyone in the audience wish to address the board? Okay, village clerk's report.
Total tax income received in the month of March totals $251,730.04. And I wanted to make the village board aware about issues with our village Facebook page and the residents, because we'll see some changes coming up in the next few weeks. Our village Facebook page was determined to be set up as a gray page when it was set up by a vendor some years ago. And the gray pages are going to be deactivated by the end of this month. I found out about a week and a half ago. A few months ago, our page was forced to switch over to Made Up Business Suite, which was an app used for managing business pages. And due to a glitch that happened during the changeover, we lost our admin rights to it. So we don't have a lot of rights to the page at this point, and we can't do anything to change it back from a gray page, whatever that definition is. So after doing some research, I decided the best thing to do is just to create a whole new Facebook page for the village. It's already been done. Over the next few weeks, we'll do an educational process for the people of Beecher, and letting them know that we're going to discontinue our old page, which is going to just completely go away at the end of this month, and start sharing the link to our new page. And once we start sharing that on Facebook, all of you who have Facebook pages, I would appreciate if you'd share it and get the word out to everybody. I tried to contact Facebook multiple times about our admin problem, and I could never get a hold of anybody. Also, your paychecks are all on the table, but the checks are not good until Wednesday, so please do not cash them.
Yeah, and then everybody that has liked the old page will have to re-like the new
Yes.
page.
We really just get post-dated checks from the village.
That way you don't have to come in after today.
Need to amend the ice cream.
Don't come by extra money, that's not cool.
Yours is good tonight.
Channel front you for free, of course.
Okay, reports of village commissions, beautification commission, Superintendent Connor.
30 hanging baskets have been ordered from Windmill Acres for Penfield and Gould Street. It does not appear that we're going to have much of ground flowers this year as we have in the past. The commission is kind of in limbo at the time. There's not many members that are looking to do a whole lot, so we don't have any meetings scheduled or anything like that coming up. So I'll keep you guys posted as things progress with that.
Are they aware of the cleanup date? I guess we should make them aware of it.
The commission, or the beautification commission, no. There's only 2 members of it.
4th of July commission, trustee Kraus.
Thank you. The next meeting is Wednesday at 6:30. Yes, 6:30. And then there's a list of improvements to buildings and parks by Parks Rec Committee that's enclosed. I don't know if I brought this up in the meeting. I know I brought it up before in July. I was looking for a list, similar list, so I can sit down with them probably after the 4th to see what's needs, wants, and stuff like that, sort of how we do for a budget. I think this was in the December packet for the 4th of July, so I'm not.
It may have been, I don't remember. I probably ran it again because they discussed it a month or 2 ago. It was. Yeah.
Okay,
So I'm just doing it here for you guys.
I didn't know if there's something happened, if there's some movement or something happened with this. I wasn't sure, but.
It's just the Park Prep Committee's wish list, so we're all aware of what they want to do.
Yeah, some of the stuff we've already addressed or are
Yeah,
in the
there's some
process
work
of
being done.
addressing, and a lot of this has changed already, so.
Okay. And the Trailblazer for the 4th of July Commission is in. Where is it right now? Anybody know?
We launched it on Saturday. Its first day out is March 25th, I believe. We're taking it out, 24th or 25th, or April 24th or 25th. I think it's April 25th is the first day they're taking it out to like a outside car show.
Show it? Okay.
Yep.
And it'll be at our events, right? The concert
Yes,
series?
it's gonna be at the
summer
concert series events.
Okay.
And then they launched the online sales on Saturday as well, so.
It just dawned on me, but I need to vent to that because
to add to the fourth? That's all here for the fourth.
Okay. Youth Commission trustee session.
Thank you. A few updates. BYC held the Mother Son Dance on Saturday, March 26th. Well attended, and many thanks to the BYC and their volunteers. Special thanks go to Beecher for helping with setup at the conclusion of their basketball playoffs that day. SRO Eric Hansen for attending and helping with setup and cleanup. And then of course my fellow trustee Joe Thierry for performing as the DJ and keeping everyone dancing. I'd also like to note that we have received the resignation of BYC Commissioner Michelle Panazzo, who's been a great leader and doer in the BYC during her time. We'd like to thank her for her service and wish her well in her future endeavors. BYC is currently looking for a new commissioner, so if you or anyone you know is interested, please contact us. And finally, the next meeting is Tuesday, April 19th at 7:30 p.m. here at the Village Hall. That is all.
Thank you. Historic Preservation Commission trustee Kaporis.
The cleanup was completed on March 16th for what could be done. Next meeting isn't until May now, right?
I believe it's April 20th.
April 20th, so there, it is April.
Yeah.
Next meeting is April 20th. Bi-monthly, so I get confused. That's it.
Alrighty. Under my report, we already did our oath of office. The school district superintendent sent an invitation to the trustees, which I forwarded to you by email. And they're holding an informational meeting on the school district referendum on Monday, April 25th at 6:30 at Beecher Junior High. They invited all of us there, as well as the community, I'm sure. We have a board meeting that night, so if we go, we got about 20 minutes to run back here for the meeting.
It's gonna be posted on YouTube too.
Yeah, they'll have it on YouTube, and it's after the fact, it will be televised for people to see, but we wanted to make sure that you all knew that you were invited to this meeting. Committee reports. Finance and Administration Committee, trustee Kaporis.
All right, consider a motion approving the treasurer's report. Donna?
The total month end for March for the village accounts, $3,606,022.48. The March month end for the commission reports, $169,234.83. The total combined, $3,755,257.31. The month end for general, $1,030,231.09. The commission non-AP payments for the month of March, $609,657.66. Much higher than usual. We had 3 payrolls, the purchase of the raffle car, and $287,000 payment to Brand Excavating for the lead line.
And the big fireworks down payment.
Yes, yeah, I mean, you're starting to see 4th of July's expenses coming in. But other than that, I think everything's pretty typical. And if there are no questions, that ends my report.
All right. I'll go ahead and make a motion approving the treasurer's report for the month prior.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call.
Caprows,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Giannotti,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes,
All right, variance reports are enclosed for your review.
they're not, but I'll send them to you electronically. I just noticed they're not in.
They're not in.
When I build encyclopedias, sometimes I miss a chapter.
Okay. Variance reports will be emailed to you for your review. Consider a motion approving the bills and payroll for the previous month. Since you were emailed, new ones to come in was a ComEd for $9,354.96. Compass Minerals, totally, the number changed, you had an amount for it, but it wasn't the whole amount. Other invoices came in totaling $17,540.58. Constellation Energy, $97.50. Constellation Energy, $236.69. East Jordan Ironworks, $64.33. motion approving the bills totaling $169,710.35.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Aye, second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion? Roll call?
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Possession.
Yes.
Capros.
Yes. Consider an ordinance, a supplemental appropriation for fiscal year 21-22 ending April 30th, 2022. This ordinance recognizes the $125,000 spent for the land on Church and Dixie, the 304 received in ARPA funds that have not yet been expended, and $12,823 in FEMA funds received last May, which will need to apply for legal services, which have been expended on pending litigation and grievance procedures. None of those appropriations create a situation where we deficit spend and fund balances will be higher at the end of this fiscal year than last year. So I'll go ahead, we got an ordinance number?
1366.
1366. I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve ordinance 1366, supplemental appropriation for fiscal year 21-22 ending April 30th, 22.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion? Roll call?
Capros,
Yes.
Possession.
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Consider a resolution authorizing line item transfers in the budget for fiscal year 21-22, ending on April 30th, 22. This is also a housekeeping item to put us in better shape for the audit. It basically reflects the actions taken through the supplemental appropriation ordinance. So I'll go ahead and, you got a resolution number?
2022-03.
I'll go ahead and make a motion approving resolution 2022-03, authorizing line item transfers in the budget for fiscal year 21-22 ending April 30th, 22.
There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion? Roll call?
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Possession.
Yes.
Capros.
Yes. Consider an ordinance increasing the compensation for the office of village president from $4,900 to $6,000 per year, and village trustee from $3,000 to $4,000 per year, effective after the next election for each of the elected positions. The committee discussed this in the budget workshop. We all discussed it in the budget workshop. I shouldn't say committee, it should say the entire board discussed it.
It was a committee of the whole.
In the, yes, in the workshop, these rates have been there since 1993. It's been 30 years. I don't think it's a huge increase, but I think it's just a way of letting board members and future board members know the hours that's put into these positions for very minimal compensation. So I don't think anybody here does it for the compensation, so.
Just for the fame and glory.
Yeah, a lot of that. So ordinance number 1367,
Yep.
I'll go ahead and make a motion approving ordinance 1367.
And there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
There is a second.
There's a motion and a second, discussion? And I'm actually gonna make just one comment for the public, and I know trustee Kapoor said so. This does not take effect for anyone who's in office, it comes up after the next election. So the next person elected to each position, whether it's someone incumbent or someone in the future, are the ones who would get this increase, not any of us that are sitting here at this moment. Roll call?
Capros,
Yes.
Possession.
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Kraus.
Yes.
Last item, county issues property tax levies and rates. The CPI was determined to be 1.4% for 2021, but we received our full 2% due to EAV growth of 6.17. The tax rate will be dropping from 0.6572 to 0.6350, which means that a $235,000 market value home would pay $488.95 in property taxes to the village, which is $20.71 less than the $509.66 that same home paid last year.
That's because we've added homes and value to the overall aggregate.
To the total EAV. That concludes my report.
Alrighty.
Can I make one addition to the finance administration? Because it has to basically do with money. there's a page, this was just passed this morning. Actually, it was passed on Saturday morning. The governor has not signed it yet, but the report came out today, which shows the impact of the LGDF on municipalities, and this is for the south suburbs. This was done by the South Suburban Mayor's Managers Association. As you recall, we asked to go from 6% to 8%. They gave us, from 6.06%, they gave us 1/10% to 6.16%, which increased our total income tax collections by $9,343.91 for the coming fiscal year. To me, that's a negligible difference. There's no need to really change the budget as a result, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention. If we were to get the 8%, it would have been a substantial sum of money for the general fund, but that's all you're getting. But as a resident, you're getting income tax refunds, I guess. The gas tax suspension that you're hearing about is all municipal tax, but they're gonna make up for that with other LGDF money that we're giving us, so we're zero sum on that. The gas tax freeze, that's only a state tax, ours doesn't change.
All right, Public Buildings and Properties, Parks and Recreation Committee, trustee Giannotti.
Splash pad update, there's a good chance that the invoice for the rubberized coating, will not be in by April 30th. So we will encumber those funds out of the current budget, which is $58,786, and move them forward to the next fiscal year. This is what remains from the splash pad loan for the work. The budget scheduled for hearing will reflect this change. We also scheduled a security camera to be installed at the splash pad, and an update on that.
We only have to put a pole in, and we were waiting for the ground to be softer, so I think we're about ready to get that done right now.
The pole has been installed last
We
week.
do that.
But we were in the electrical panel where they were supposed to put a 110 outlet in there for us that we could tie it off of, and they did not do that. So I need to talk to George when they come out here to finish the rubber coating and see if we can't get that done, because that was something that we definitely asked for.
That was in the spec.
Yeah.
And currently still planning for a Memorial Day weekend opening.
So we're hoping. I haven't heard from George. I do know that the temperatures had to be above 50 degrees at night for 3 or 4 days in a row in order for them to even be able to start that project. So we're definitely not there yet.
That's why we're pushing that money in the next fiscal year.
Yeah.
Nightcore gas service to 675 Penfield, the food building.
Friday afternoon, ICOR called. They are now treating it as a gas service again and following the original path of the gas main into the building. They said that we could expect gas before the 4th of July, but I'm not in charge of the gas company. So if they get it in, it'd be great. We need some gas fryers in there, but we'll have to wait and see.
We got summer concert series update. The committee for the series has 2 open dates that need at least one trustee, if not 2, to be the lead contact or coordinator for the event. This includes taking care of the entertainment needs, whether it's chairs, powers, etc., and also helping out with whoever the food and refreshment vendor is for that event. Should anything come up, police seating and closed schedule. We also booked the final band for the Labor Day weekend, September 3rd, which is called the Critical UVs. They're a trio out of Munster, and they play a little bit of everything, so it'll be a nice cap off to the series.
Okay. So,
That concludes my report. Oh, anything to add to that?
No, nothing. Okay.
Planning, Building and Zoning Committee, trustee Stacy.
Yes, Mayor. The building department's building report is enclosed for your review. I'd like to bring consideration for an ordinance amending the zoning code to allow the administrative variances to be granted for fences and front yard setbacks of corner lots.
Okay. Did you want to make that motion?
I would like to make a motion.
And that's for ordinance number 1368. And there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Roll call?
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Genati,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Caprows.
Yes.
Is it 1368?
1368, yeah.
Okay, and we have another one there. Consideration for ordinance amending the zoning code to include the word commercial in the definition of trailers.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to
Ordinance
accept
number
this.
1369.
Yeah, I need a motion.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
There's a motion and a second, discussion?
There we go.
No, go right ahead.
Well, I mean, can we get a little history on this? I mean, why are we changing it? Does it need to be changed? Was there an issue?
Yeah.
Was this what the meeting
I
was
don't know.
Wednesday?
It was the subject of a plan commission workshop in February and then a public hearing in March, I believe, George?
Yeah.
And I guess I'll let Dave explain the issue that you had regarding someone challenging you on the definition of a trailer.
Okay, basically what happened is, I was been enforcing the code since I started in October, but I issued a resident a ticket on Catalpa, and she brought to my attention that I don't have a recreational trailer. I have a commercial trailer, or I have a tool trailer, and she went through the ordinance and she pointed out that this is not a recreational trailer. It doesn't have RT plates on it. The RT plate would be recreational trailer. So anything without an RT plate would not be considered recreational trailer.
So is this a work vehicle? Like, are these people
Yeah, it's a
bringing it
work
home and
vehicle,
just
they haul
parking
around,
it
yeah,
overnight?
equipment in it and parts, yep, it's a work trailer.
And that covers any trailer, open, closed?
Well,
doesn't matter?
the new term recreational is supposed to cover trailers, period.
Well, we added the term commercial because it's specified recreational.
Oh, yeah,
trailers
it's specified
can't-
recreational, now we're
Now
gonna
it
use the
just
term
says
commercial.
recreational, commercial trailers, campers and boats, so it covers basically any trailer you could have. Now, it does allow them to park it there for 3 days, I believe.
3 consecutive days in a 30-day period is what the,
Right, and if there's a building permit on the property and a contractor's working on the house, we'll let the trailer sit in the driveway while the building permit's.
That's
in
correct.
effect. But for a guy to bring his landscape business home and park in his driveway every day, that's not the intent of the ordinance, to park your landscape trailer.
the issue was the weekend warriors with their campers, bring them home every weekend and just parking them and leaving them. Or the other people with their regular work trailers, bringing them home and leaving them for more than 3 days at a time.
So the meeting this past week, actually, so Plan Commission voted on that as far as the commercial trailers. The meeting last week that was held was, there were 4 questions that trustee Stacy had after the Plan Commission meeting as far as recreational trailers, how they parked, what the 3 days meant, was it 3 days and 30 days, moving them back and forth in town. So after looking at the ordinance, we realized that there is actually enough to kind of control these things. It's just all over the ordinance. So the trailers are listed in one spot, and then when it comes to impervious surfaces, there was nothing near the trailer part of the ordinance that discussed that. That was actually under the parking ordinance. And the 3 days and 30 days was in the parking area along with 5 feet from property lines. There's a whole lot of things that govern recreational trailers that can be used to enforce the rules that we already have. It's just that they were in a whole bunch of places all over the ordinance. So after we met about potentially going back to Plan Commission with some of this, we determined that most of it was actually already addressed in the current ordinance.
So then nothing's really changing, you're just cleaning up the language.
Cleaning up the language.
We're adding the term commercial to the definition of trailer, basically.
So that was not in there in the past?
Correct.
Just
We
said
never got
recreation.
challenged. We never got challenged until it came to our attention. It said recreational. I couldn't argue with the resident because she was right.
Good for them.
Yeah.
So how many of these do we have?
How many trailers?
How many issues do we have with this?
With
How many
that,
You
complaints?
mean commercial or?
Just the one.
or just-
that was the big one, and I've gotten a couple, like, I can't bring it home more than 3 days, but since it's the ordinance, bring it home for 3 days to clean it out or do what you need, but you can't be flip-flopping it every other weekend, bring it back and forth and back and forth. That's my understanding.
And this is in a front yard setback. So So if they're able to park it behind their home, like in the old part of town, where their garages are behind the house, that's okay.
Yeah, well, my biggest concern, I think the ones that are in the driveways, that's the biggest issue. Or on the street for 3 days. There's plenty of them behind buildings and parked behind their garages, and that's not a huge issue necessarily.
Well, I guess my question is, I understand the recreational trailers, right? It's a recreational trailer, it's a toy, but, I mean, are we messing with people's livelihoods here? I mean, are these tools that people need to perform their jobs, if they be a contractor or whatever it may be, where they can't park something they need to earn a living in their own driveway? I mean, a recreational trailer, I understand, right? And I had constituents bring issues to me last year where there was a problem close to where I lived, and it was parked along the side of a house, basically on a property line, 5 feet from a next door neighbor's window and everything else. But to me, it seems like you're going after people's livelihood. If this is a commercial vehicle or a commercial trailer, that's a necessity for their job. I mean, if this hasn't been a problem, I mean, if this is something Dave found, you know, beating the street, I mean, we see he does a phenomenal job of capturing pretty much anything that's out there, but, you know, are we going after something here that, I mean, my question is this gonna affect somebody's livelihood?
I'm only aware of this one. If there was ever a construction trailer in the past, we talked with the resident.
This is the only one that was challenged, and
Yeah.
I've talked to several people about the trailers, and they've been moving them off-site. They take them home because they're working from somewhere else, or they leave them somewhere. A couple of them, sometimes they bring them home to load them up, but they're not sitting there for 2 or 3 days at a time.
Okay.
And in the committee meeting too, I don't think it was also, at least it was my understanding that it wasn't brought up as far as like people's livelihood, but also within the commercial trailer, it was also going to be different trailers like utility trailers, because utility trailers aren't recreational either. And so it would also fall, the commercial also falls underneath utility trailers, and it'll also cover, you know, like horse trailers and different other things that may be throughout the town.
Yeah, horse trailer, we had a problem with a horse trailer. And we did get that moved, but according to the definition of the ordinance, you could argue that that horse trailer is not a recreational trailer.
And it sounds like there's also considerations to allow people to park, you know, as needed in other places, other ways.
You know, if you don't live in
Yeah.
an old section of town, if you live where I
But there's
live
also
or where you
screening,
live,
right?
you don't have, you know, back access to your
Sure, of course.
garage in the back or something. I guess I would just feel a little more comfortable on this, just if somebody can tell me that there's some sort of a variance or something that they can apply for if this is their livelihood. I mean, if it's, I understand if it's a trailer that's parked days on end, that's not something that's, you know, an everyday necessity, but, I mean, if somebody's gotta pull a trailer for their job every day and it's being moved out of their driveway every day while they're at work, and this and that, I would hope that there'd be some way that we could.
Was this a big trailer, the one that you had, was it something like coming up closer to the sidewalk?
Was it an
Oh,
enclosed
yes,
trailer?
yes. It had a pretty small driveway, and it was a big trailer, but it didn't cover the sidewalk, but it was there a week at a time.
It sat there for months and didn't move.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, there was a
Usually
flatbed
it's
in there
for
too that sat there for months.
This was not a case of somebody working and they just left it there, with no intention of moving it.
But does this ordinance prohibit somebody who is working and just brings it, parks it overnight to take it back to the work site the next day? Does this ordinance prohibit them from doing that?
No, because he would be allowed technically 3 days
3 days.
to do that.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but suppose they do it every day.
Moving every day.
Now,
Yeah, if they go to work every day in the
he's
truck.
working from 9 to 1.
But
He's not going out at midnight looking for trailers. So
Or-
if the guy's bringing it home at night and it's not an issue, you know, but if a neighbor does complain, you may have an issue.
But that's the problem. I drove a service van for 9 years. I drove a service van. No one's ever complained about a service van. That trailer's acting just like a service van.
No,
It's not
you
attached
can
to
drive a
vehicle.
service van, you can't pull it, you pull a trailer, that's the
I
difference.
understand that, but my livelihood relied on that service van. If we stopped allowing service vans to be parked on driveways, which they do in some areas, that would have stopped me from being able to go to work. I feel like maybe we need to come up with some kind of stickering process or something like that in order to allow people with businesses, if we're gonna do this. If you have a business and you wanna apply for a sticker of some sort, there's gotta be a workaround here,
But
because
this is only picking up because of one situation.
I understand that,
But
but
if-
it's
but
how
if
it's
we have-
interpreted
If we have
in
an
the
ordinance
future.
that prohibits it, it
So-
doesn't matter, it's
so
on the
again-
books.
So again, if what you're saying is true, chief, if we're going about this and changing the language for one situation, is that something that
Open a can.
predicate to do that and possibly affect other situations? I mean, if this is one single situation, did you have complaints about this?
Did we ever?
Yeah, me.
No,
I found this there,
No.
I asked her to
Asking you.
move, I asked the resident to move it 3 times, and they said,
Okay,
It's
I'm
my
not-
work trailer.
That wasn't my
So
question.
finally-
The question was, did we receive a complaint at the village hall from a neighbor or another resident?
Most likely, probably not.
no, because I was out there doing what I'm supposed to do.
Oh, yeah, no, and I'm all for that. I'm not saying, I'm not knocking that, I'm just,
But if
George, did you have anything?
I think we should take a look at what was the intent of the ordinance to begin with. And if it's applicable because of, was it for the way things looked or bottling up traffic or whatever, what difference it make what it is if the intent of the ordinance is they don't want that? You need to go back and see why you had the ordinance in the first place.
And it did say recreational trailers,
Yes, it
campers,
did.
and boats. It didn't say construction
No,
trailers.
it did not.
I just feel like we're in a working community, you know, there's a lot of blue collar people out here, and I feel like, well,
But we
But
can't
you're opening
discriminate
yourself
between
up.
trailers. If a guy brings his semi-tractor trailer home and drops it in the driveway, a grain elevator trailer, that's no different than.
18-wheeler drives it every day.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta be careful.
it's there. It's on Church Road, say it's not.
But he's not in the front yard setback. This is only in the front yard setback. This is in front of the house, if it's parked in front of the house.
yeah, but some people can only park in front of their house.
Yeah, well,
I can only park in front of my house, you can only park in front of your house.
I don't have a trailer.
I know, but I'm just saying.
Good answer.
Well, and the options here are, so we could put it up for a vote, you can vote it down.
There's a
You
motion
can
and a
send
second.
it back, yep, you can send it back even for, have it, discussed again to try to fine tune it, but in its current one, there's a motion and a second, so we can vote on this one, and if there is a desire to go back and try to fine tune it a little better, we can do that at another time. All right, any further discussion? All right, roll call?
Caprows,
No.
Possession,
Yes.
Genati,
No,
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Kraus,
No.
Is that 3-3?
President Meyer.
This is your first time vote?
My first time vote, oh my God, drum roll. I'm gonna say no.
All right, so the ordinance is not going into effect. We keep the ordinance that we have. But that means a construction trailer or a contractor's trailer can be parked in the front yard setback, by definition.
For 3 days only, right?
Huh?
3 consecutive days.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
That's in a 30-day period.
No,
No?
no.
no, because that was the
It could be
recreation.
parked there permanently.
Okay.
And if people have a complaint, they can come here. Well, I can't park my RV trailer, but that guy can. They have to come here and address it.
Well, and that's something that can also go back to Plan Commission and just be tweaked a little better. Currently now, all we said is yes or no. You can certainly bring this up again. This doesn't preclude going back again and saying, okay, here's what we want to do with work trucks, but here with certain
Which was the
limits and
split
certain
vote, you probably should
sizes.
refer it back.
Yep.
I mean, that, with all the discussion, I mean, that's pretty much what we said, that we weren't against this, but we wanna make sure
That people can.
someone
do
who's
that.
using this to pay their bills,
maybe
doesn't
we
get
could
screwed over by this.
Pay their mortgage, pay their property taxes.
Yeah,
come up with some kind of process, like some, like be some sort of stickering or something where you gotta pay a fee
sort of
and you're
variance
able
or
to park it
A variance or
overnight.
special use,
Yeah.
I think, because I think the neighbors have a right to chime in. The neighbors don't have a complaint, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's when the neighbors complain.
Like I said, I don't think anybody,
Well,
any
then
no votes were
750, right?
completely against it.
Well, that's up to you guys. If it gets referred, you guys have to come up with how the variance is issued.
I know, but you don't have to apply for that special permit?
That would be $750 if it's
$750
under
bucks,
current
right.
ordinance, correct.
Okay.
So
But
if it's
who's
their
gonna apply?
livelihood, they're gonna be
Nobody's
willing.
applying for it. You know, I mean, at this point, you do have an option of going back and working on this again. Because like I said, as far as the board's concerned, yes, do we want the town to look great? Do we want to be able to push it if somebody's doing something that's bothering a neighbor? Absolutely. But do you want to stop someone from doing their job? No.
Well, let's face it, with code enforcement, we're gonna have these issues come up,
Mhm.
you know, and it's,
Look, there wasn't, I think, especially on Untitled, which is nice to see every once in a while that everything isn't 6-0. I think that, I can only speak for myself on my no vote. I voted no on the ordinance as it's written. Alright, doesn't mean I'm completely against the idea. I voted no on an ordinance the way it was written, today. That's it, in the story.
so should you refer it back?
We can refer it back to committee.
That'd be an appropriate vote, it's on the agenda. So you can refer it to committee or to the commission, either one.
Let's refer it back to committee first. Let the committee work out the details before you send it back to plan commission. You guys will have plenty to say about it anyhow, but, that's really the way it should go, is head to committee first. So, do we need a motion for that, or just refer it back? Just refer it, okay.
I'll leave the meeting, whatever he wants.
Okay,
Does that mean we're also not going to vote on the next one?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that.
Because this is in the street. All we're doing is adding the definition of commercial trailer being parked in the street. Because the front yard setback in the street one was always worded the same.
Look, it's on the agenda, either you make a motion to table it, or you address it, somebody makes a motion. If nobody makes a motion, or addresses it, it dies, right? Robert's rule of order.
so you can make a motion to put it through, or you can make a motion to table it and to go back to plan
I
commission.
will make a motion to table it and send it back to committee.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call.
Kraus,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Benatti,
Yes.
Possession.
Yes.
Caprows.
Yes. Okay.
Now.
Yeah, where were we?
We have another one for consideration, Mayor. So now, to get to that one, could we use the 69 number?
So the 69 is the one that did not go through.
Right, 70 didn't go
Ignore that.
through, yeah, so just start at 69.
69 again.
Okay.
1369.
Okay. Consideration for ordinance amending the zoning code to address cargo containers in commercial districts and temporary storage containers in residential districts. I make a motion that we accept this.
Okay, that is 1369. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. There's a motion and a second.
This ordinance, to clarify, grandfathers in the two existing cargo containers that we have in the commercial district. Any future cargo containers need a special use permit, and they're limited to one per zoning lot, and they have to appear before the PCC. Is that correct, George? I'm looking at it because that's what we came up with on that. A storage container, we're gonna allow for a period of time in residential districts for people moving it out, but they have to park them on their property. We cannot park them in the street or in the road. It has to be in there, the driveway. Because we had several that showed up last summer and in the shoulders of the road and not in the driveway. On top of B boxes and everything else. Yeah.
Any other discussion on this? Roll call.
Caprows,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Benatti,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Stacy.
Yes.
Kraus,
Yes.
That was 1369.
That was 69, yes. So we're headed towards 1370 for the next one.
Okay, we have another one for consideration of ordinance, approving the preliminary plan for the Indiana Crossroads Business Park. I make a motion that we approve this.
1370.
And the petitioner is present if there's any questions to be asked on this.
And this is for the property just west of the creek.
Yeah, the PZC accommodated an anticipated crowd for the meeting, and I don't think there was a very large crowd there, but there was about an hour and a half of deliberations, if I recall.
What were some of the, was there any hanging points or anything, George?
No, there's a lot of clarifications. I mean, you know, Artie was there, his dad was there, what type of tenants you're gonna have in essence, you know, that type of thing. And they've done some questions about putting a burn up and some trees to hide and do a more soundproofing and those types of things, which I think is all can be done.
Was there any discussion as to maximum heights of buildings? That covered in this?
No, it's covered in our industrial zone, I think it's 40-foot height, it's maximum height. Industrial district.
How high is Walls? Just out of curiosity.
35, 37, something.
No,
It's not that high in the back?
No, not even close.
no, 23 maybe, it ain't that high.
No.
No.
What's your current building, Artie?
32, I think. Depends, the building's built into the earth as you go to the north. The far southern end is the highest point, and we just kind of made higher footings as we expanded. So part of that building in the north end is actually sort of underground, so to speak. So our walls aren't as high on that end. But we had to get a special permit for that sugar silo, variance for that.
Just, you know, John, we also talked about the traffic, the traffic study done, how it would affect traffic at different intersections. So that was also discussed.
I think it was an
Some questions of-
80-page report, traffic study, or 180-page, I don't know, it was a long thing. And
Yeah, it was a long one.
they did a full unanimous study that there was absolutely no reason that road wouldn't support that, the traffic. It was, they classified A, B, C, D, or whatever, and the amount of trucks in and out, and existing as it stands now, anticipated, I think, 7 years from now, or 10 years from now even, and it was still woefully short of
Yeah, I
any
think there
need for
was
a turn lane or anything.
4 left turn movements an hour, if I remember right.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
We went through the exercise and it cost us like $7,000 to do it, but we did it and it was proven. Well, which is good, now we know, right? Okay, some of the people, or a couple people wondered just how far back the property, the buildings were, and that side of the creek, it was 400 some feet.
400 plus feet, yeah.
Yeah.
For the closest one.
Yeah, I think it's
For the
430-ish.
closest one.
430-ish, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, frankly, there's trees there already, you know, with the creek, and, there's no intent to even take those down. Warren was here, he talked all about that. The ponds, we talked about the ponds, they're not gonna be wet ponds, they're gonna be, aquatic, vegetation that grows in there, and it'll be maintained. So that was addressed, and, there's a whole list of covenants that we have published that we talked about. They're nice. We address things like parking trailers in the front yard, you can't do that. No.
Even commercial?
Yeah.
I think we're doing the same thing as we do on Dutch American Way, they can only park alongside the street, so
Yeah.
emergency vehicles can get through.
In that street, the proposed street is even wider than what our current street is, quite a bit wider, and, so, I mean, we've got some interested parties ready to go, and we're about ready to make a presentation to a guy in a building, so, you know, hopefully that'll go through.
Yeah, we gotta get the final plat done yet too.
Yeah, the final, but, you know, first phase is what we're after right now, and we get that. There's some permitting with the US Waterway, you know, the floodplain, the Army Corps, FEMA stuff, that just takes a while. We started it a long time ago anticipating the time it would take, and, so, you know, but it's coming along. And,
And George, as I recall, I think there was also a presentation on the potential impact to property values for
Correct.
surrounding.
yeah, that was done as well. It was sort of, what the conclusion was in that study, what's his name, who did that study for us? Pete. They listed 10 things which would maybe or decline the value of a home in an industrialized area, and they were such things as establishments that are written in the covenants that we're not even allowing in there, such as a gentleman's club or a marijuana place, okay? Crematories, hospitals, okay?
Police station.
None of that stuff is going in there. And those are the 10 things that actually lower, potential live in an area that's very close to that. None of those 10 things, top 10 things are even allowed to be or going to be in this park.
I think it was, initially there's a reaction and they drop a little bit, but over time it comes back. I think people get accustomed to it because, it's not a manufacturing facility. It's probably more of a warehousing or light industrial.
Warehousing, light industrial, yep. We actually have an electrician who wants to buy a lot and perhaps put a little building in for that, to run his business out of. Well, that's perfect. In one little lot, you can set it up there and be nice, good clean business. That's the kind of thing we want, so.
So I guess the only, and I mean, if there wasn't people there to address it, I guess the only concern, one of the main concerns I heard was a concern on the heights of the buildings. As to, with the berms and that, if you're even gonna block anything with as tall as these buildings would be and stuff like that. I don't, it really looks like there's 4 lots that would, lots 15, 16, 17, and 18. That would, are the close lots that would be in question. I mean, was there any discussion as to limiting heights of buildings on those 4 lots?
No.
Without reducing it for the whole rest of it, just leaving it as industrial, or?
Do you have a suggested height, John?
No, it just, I don't know, I think that, and already I'm in favor of this project and that, but I do think there's 4 lots there that you gotta put extra care into what goes in, cause that's the ones that are directly gonna, what goes in at lot 22 or 6 or 7, no neighbors are really gonna be affected there. I know you wanna be a great neighbor and already are.
I understand.
I don't know if there's something we can put in there where, I mean, any of these are gonna have to go before planning and zoning, or if they just meet the industrial requirements once this is passed, that's done, right? They just walk in and get a permit and.
They have to go to the TIF committee for review before a redevelopment agreement is signed. You can put conditions on it then.
But it depends on who's in charge of the TIF
That
committee
is
at the
correct.
time.
That is correct. If you wanted to do it permanently on these lots, you probably have to do it now or at final.
Like I said, that was one of the few legitimate, you know what I mean? I'm not paying any mind or thinking anybody, when they talk about, clouds of pollution billowing out of these buildings, covering the neighborhoods and stuff like that. I don't, but that was one thing that somebody brought up that I said, okay, yeah, I can see that. When you look at, Waltz, I mean, I would say Waltz is probably about 28 feet, would be my guess. But when you're talking about, something that's 50% even taller than that building.
How tall is your building?
We tried looking, just to put it in perspective, me and my father tried to buy a building prior to building our creek factory. We drove all over the south suburbs. You can't find a building that's as tall as 36 feet. You just can't find it.
No.
So there's not many people are building them in.
I don't think so either, but does so something that, with what you're saying, right, wouldn't affect you at all, right? But meanwhile, gives residents on Miller and Catalpa that back up to those 4 lots, already 15, 16, 17, 18.
Right.
I know you got a photographic memory in your
Yeah.
picture.
No, I know.
It's the one at the end and those four there
The
before
one that's on the
country
end,
comes, and
towards
then you got the
Miller, I think.
outlots,
Yeah.
right, working your way back north.
That's 400 feet away though, son, Catalpa. That's the closest, they're not, 400 feet.
Is that from the, and I don't remember this, is that from the back of the property or the back of the house? Because almost every house on Catalpa, the backs of them are almost.
I believe he was talking about the back of the house, from the
Okay.
back door to the back of the
Back
property, it was the back of the property line too.
Yeah, so the back of the house to the back of the property line,
so you
and
still
then there
have your
would probably,
clearance.
right.
And then there's the berm, and then there's the trees from the creek.
No.
Well,
I don't think
I
they
used
have
to live
those-
in one of those houses on
Yeah.
Catalpa, so I know exactly
Yeah.
when you look out the back, how far that is from there,
I
and
don't
then
think
I
those
can
are even-
picture how
Do
further
you
back
have a
that
height in
is.
mind,
and,
John? The reason I'm asking you, I think if you try to build a 40-foot building, the structural requirements to do a 40-footer might be cost prohibitive. as you go up.
I understand all that,
Yeah,
right, and we just acknowledge that.
Yeah.
It's probably not, his own building, which is massive, you're not even getting into that. So does it give the residents peace of mind
to agree to a height limitation on
to
this
agree
floor.
to a height limitation on those four lots that are, residents back up to?
And you can even put a caveat on there, the height shall be this height unless a variance is granted by the board of trustees, and then you could have it. If there was a need to sell somebody that wanted a higher structure, they'd have to come here, trigger a hearing.
Talk about it.
Yeah.
Right now, the ordinance is 40 feet as it stands, correct?
Correct.
So, you're gonna
Which I
change the
agree,
ordinance.
to build a structural, to code a 40-foot building takes a lot of structure.
Bob, does, after this preliminary, vote here, you said that you could either have to do it now or at the final, right?
You could probably do it at final.
Now, after we do this, does any part of this preliminary part of this first section have to go back to the PZC?
No, if you approve this, the PZC will only consider final plats based on this preliminary plat. Does that mean a condition can change at final plat? Yes. Because the covenants will not be recorded until the final plat is recorded. So the covenants could technically change. And that's probably where you put them, is in the covenants.
So would it be appropriate then to say that we would want the PZC to discuss having a potentially, like a height limit?
On these lots before final plat approval? Yeah. That way it gives the petitioner some time to think about it too. You know?
We're not talking the whole park now, we're talking a couple of lots.
4 lots.
At the end of the deal.
The last three that face Catalpa and the big one that you got that's right behind Miller Street. And again, I don't know if you got a potential buyer for that one or what, I don't know what their plans are. It could be we're talking about nothing, and all these guys wanna do are 20-some footers anyway.
Well, that's more than likely what's gonna happen, but this preliminary plat is what we're talking about, that whole west side of the creek down to Miller,
Correct.
right? That's what this is tonight?
Yeah.
So this is not just phase 1,
Not the phase
going
one.
up to the pipeline.
No, this is the entire street called Ileana Avenue? Street?
Ileana Road or?
Yeah, something like that. At final, we'll decide down, but that's what this road will be called.
Right.
So is that lots 1 through 14, or 1 through 15, is that what you're saying?
Actually,
It's what
1
is
through
approved.
25.
26.
26.
Okay, so down and back around.
You know, that far lot on the end of the road towards Miller, that's a pretty nice
That's a big lot.
big lot, and that, I had a guy that was interested in doing it now, he wanted likely an 80,000-foot building, but it wasn't, he didn't need the height. And he's still interested to do it as a different part of the park, because we won't be ready for him, okay? But I think he's talking about, we're gonna give him a price on a 25-foot and then a 30-foot option. That's what he's asking for. He didn't even really want the 30, but he's doing it for resale value of his building for somebody down the road, or somebody may want it building with height, for the reasons I said. Can't find them around. 40 feet's a really tall building, it's not likely anybody's gonna do it.
So
Mine isn't even that tall. Creed is actually the higher one, that one's 30, it's only 34 at Creed. The one here in Beecher's 30, I believe, so.
So I did do it, I had to find the article again, when I was reading about it to remember the exact. But the NAIOP, teamed up with HPA Architects, and created a rules of thumb for distribution warehouse facilities design. And in here, it's a long article, but they discuss the 40-foot, they call it the 40-foot myth, and how it's busted based on typical heights of pallets and the need of, you know, how high you can even stack them. But it says buildings below 50,000 square feet can be 32 feet clear. Buildings between 50 and 80,000 square feet can typically be 30 foot clear. So, I think if you maybe reduce, just as a peace of mind, change the limits to 30, because if you do get somebody in that 50 to 80,000 square foot range, then the typical would be 30 there. I think you're showing the residents there that, hey, I wanna be a good neighbor, that,
I would, yeah, I understand that. I would say maybe don't specify the height and have it be approved when the time comes. If a guy comes, he wants 30-foot building, he goes and has the hearing, or goes to
yeah, but
the
then they
board.
gotta pay and you create extra time to
It
where,
all
I think if
takes
you just
time.
do, if you say
Yeah.
for those
Anything
4
over 30
lots,
feet would have to be, you know,
and those, if anything over 30, they would have to come, and then you just leave it, the rest as.
They can
as
come to
is.
the board of trustees and you guys can decide how to handle it. You write the neighbors a letter and say, we're gonna have a meeting on this, come to the meeting.
That's kinda how I think it should be done.
Yeah.
I'm not, that way you're not saying, yeah, or you're allowing it to be said, look, we're not guaranteeing somebody can do this for you. What if he wants a small little narrow building for some special use, you know, that's not that wide, it's just kinda long, you don't know what he's gonna want.
Like a fire
Not only
truck.
that, but if we're gonna have a berm there with some white pines that get majestic and 40 feet high anyway, you're not gonna see nothing but trees, you know, for your sound buffer. So,
And that takes years to grow that tall.
I don't know, they grow pretty fast, man, them white pines. But either way. The ordinance is 40 feet as it is right now. You're gonna have to change your village ordinance. I don't think it's too wise, but. I mean, it's an industrial park, that's what it's being there for, light industrial. I'm kind of a unique situation because we do a little manufacturing where we're at, but the buildings we're gonna build is gonna be a storage warehouse. All the things, the primary reasons people were concerned were noises and, right? That was one of the things, and right on top of them, I guess was another concern. You had a few random people come, you know, from Facebook that lived right there, I get the concern, but I think we addressed all those things very well.
I think a huge concern with the high buildings also would have been the ones that were, when you were gonna do the eastern portion.
Right, which we said,
You're right
okay,
behind
we
somebody's
already
house,
said
there's
we're
no
not
way.
going to do that. I mean, we threw away a third of the project to acquiesce to the public. I mean, that's a big deal. Now we wanna take more, it's kinda like,
I don't think it's taken more.
well, you know, I know what you're saying.
No, I don't think it's taken more. I think it's
Limiting.
I think it's the duty of the village board to look out for the constituents and the residents that are gonna directly back up to it. And when we sit here and we look at studies and as board members, we do readings and we see that recommended heights are below that 40-foot requirement that's in place in the existing ordinance for light industrial parks, to ask that 4 lots be limited to a 30-foot height, I don't think is asking for a lot. And also leaving the door open, telling you as a developer that, hey, anybody that you get in here, the village board would still be able to, be willing to sit down and listen
Consider that.
and consider something you know, higher to meet the rest of them. I don't think that's taking anything away.
No, I just don't wanna limit it,
So-
at least have the option open where, you know, be considered,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, that's fair to me.
As long as that's addressed in the final plan.
So,
You don't have to address that tonight, but you've gotta remember to commit to it when the final plan comes.
So that does not need to be in the preliminary.
It doesn't have to be put in final, that's a condition.
all right.
For the PZC to recommend that as well. There's 2 members here that heard that already.
Okay, so we had a motion on the floor for ordinance, to authorize ordinance number 1370, approving a preliminary plan for the Ileana Crossroads Business Park. We did not have a second yet. Did someone wish to second? Anyone?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, if you approve this gives them no right to build anything yet, because the final plans, they have to get all engineers and design, and they gotta post a letter of credit equal to the value of that final plat to begin the public improvement part of the project. So there's still another step, they have to go through PZC and this village board before they can build anything.
So this is really just basically a stage gate.
There's 3 steps to an industrial park. A concept plan, which you approved about a year ago now, a preliminary plat, and a final plat. Usually the preliminary plat, they're telling you they intend to build all this. The final plat is the phases they're doing, the stages of development. Okay, and then you have another layer of commitment, that's through your TIF redevelopment agreement. You can put conditions on that with a specific building owner or a specific lot. And the TIF committee would recommend to the village board a redevelopment agreement that may contain additional items, you know. So there's actually 4 approval processes, and I feel for the developer, because it's a long, hard road.
It's a month at a time, you know,
Yeah.
we have to wait a month for another meeting to get something done.
Yeah.
The only thing that, like, the FEMA thing, is that we knew that was gonna take a while, we can't really do anything until we get conditional permits for that. But that, all of a sudden, one day, it's gonna come. Corona seemingly is going away, and these people are working again, so they do
Yeah.
a little faster.
And you gotta get through the village engineer with all
Yep,
their
we're gonna
requirements.
have a meeting at, Warren and him are
Next
gonna
week?
talk, yep.
Yeah, we're taking soil borings on Church Road to see what we got there, action borings, so.
There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that's still going on, so.
So just so I'm totally clear, and if this is voted yes, basically that just paves the way for future votes and activities.
Correct, but that doesn't limit you from putting that restriction on there now,
Right,
if
of
you so
course.
desire.
No, I just wanted to see if there
Yeah.
was like, you know, like last time, like, oh, these approvals had to happen so that certain studies could be, you know, done, or like they have the green light to go forward with certain activities. So I just wanted to see where that
And
goes.
it's theoretically possible that this final plat will not come to the village for several years, because they're gonna concentrate on the north half, and maybe there's no development occurring, and they don't do the south half, so the village board at that time would have to consider any conditions placed on those lots. So that's the risk you take, is you're putting that in a future board's hands.
But we could also put down on this today to lower those 4 lots into a 32 or a 30-foot height variance.
Unless otherwise approved by the board of trustees. That's
And,
how I
and
would
we could do that, and then this way too, when he goes to, I mean, cause the way I look at it is if we approve this and then on the final developing plan, we're gonna go ahead and put those restrictions on, and he's trying to sell his lots, and he's gonna go tell his guys, well, I don't really know what the hell the height's gonna be. Because, you know, the village board hasn't given me a determination of what my height could be. So if you want that lot, I don't know. You know what I mean? I think if we were to establish a height tonight, that would help him when he's, you know, pitching his properties, in orders, you know, different, lot locations.
So, would you prefer to amend your motion? Do you guys wanna add a height limit tonight?
I would amend my motion. I'd amend my motion.
So what you could do is amend the motion to, approve the preliminary plat with the exception that lots 15 through 18 would have a height limit of no higher than 30 feet unless approved by the village board, right?
We would have to direct the attorney to amend the ordinance. But you could approve the ordinance as amended tonight, and you'd have to redraft it. I wouldn't have you sign it until it was redrafted.
Right. Would you like to amend your motion?
Okay,
Thusly.
I'll amend my motion.
You don't have to repeat it. Do you have all that?
That's 15 to 18.
15 through 18.
15 through 18.
With a height not to exceed 30 feet unless authorized by the village board,
Unless authorized by the village board.
or unless approved by the village board. And you're
I amend my second.
amending your second, okay. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Kraus,
Yes. Still taking notes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Giannotti,
Yes.
Possession,
Yes.
Capros.
Yes.
Okay, you got your last item, trustee Stacy.
Oh, yes, yes. The next planning and zoning meeting is scheduled for April 28th. 2 public hearings on requests for special use permits for LED signs along Dixie Ave Highway will be considered. And that's my report.
Have we ever had a planning commission committee report that's been that long before?
It's been a while.
That's a two-bagger, right?
That's a cut there.
All right, Public Safety Committee, Trustee Curie.
Thank you, Mayor. The police department's monthly report is enclosed to review. And we also have the golf cart that was outside of the way. So, Chief, anything you wanna?
Yeah, came in the back door, please go out the front door, look at the golf cart, feel free to take it for a spin. I wanted to thank Bob Heim and Dale Murray, because they installed all the police lights and the siren using used stuff we had at the police department. And Tony Massaro, who's a resident here in town, he did the graphics and didn't charge us. It was really nice of him. And his building, his business is kitty corner from the police station. April 26th, Tuesday at 10 o'clock at the township is our roost burglary presentation. And it's very timely because we had a roost burglary with gypsies preying on a senior citizen within the last couple of weeks. Saturday, July 2nd will be the bike rodeo. It's gonna be at the grade school parking lot because the fireman's parking lot is being used for other things. So we're tentatively looking at doing it at the grade school parking lot. So again, that's gonna be July 2nd. We have EMA committed a couple people. The police officer will have about 3 as well. We might need some trustees to help us at the bike rodeo. We have about 10 stations, so we might need 2 or 3 trustees to help too. So if you're free on the 2nd in the morning.
What time?
10 o'clock.
I'll be down there.
What's going on in the fireman's parking lot?
Oh, that's where, I'm sorry.
I have no idea. Who said there was something going on in the parking lot in the morning?
We didn't want to take the chance because of,
There's nothing going on in the morning. We're not opening up till 2 or 4. 2
so we
o'clock.
can make sure nobody parks there the night
I
before.
mean, it doesn't matter to me if you want to use behind the grade school, that'd be a good spot for it. It's not striped, you could do your chalk thing now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if you
We'll
brought it
come
up
with-
towards the
we'll-
school. But yeah,
we'll come up with a good
no one's in the parking lot in the
Okay.
morning. We could always barricade it
That is the
off.
preferred location.
Yeah, we can barricade it off that night and open it back up after.
Okay, also the EMA monthly report is in there. And I was gonna add about all this work and stuff that Bob and Dale did on the cart. But Bob, anything you need to add? I know we did the training with the storms. I think more training, is it
Yes,
public training?
we sent 1 to spotter training, we're gonna send a few more, but, yeah, we're constantly doing training and, about it.
Just one thing, if you see 3-hole punch paper, that's free paper we got. We're using it in our copiers courtesy of Bob. Volunteering his time up in Stager. Is it Stager you go? Is that where
Yeah.
that place is?
Yeah.
So if you see 3-hole punch paper, it's because it's free. Thank you, Bob.
And the code enforcement monthly report is also in there. Chief, we have a flock update.
Yes, I think some of you heard about the semi that pulled down one of our side streets, ripped down all the electrical wires, fell on a car, damaged the car, and the flock cameras caught that's how we caught the person. And we're in the process of, the company won't tell us who the driver is right now, so might have to get us a boot. But the flock cameras caught the semi. Todd, yes, we're all up on I'm getting all the alerts now, so is everybody. We had an issue with the leads, that's why, so we straightened it out. Now everybody's getting the alerts in real time. So, stolen car drives down one of our existing flock cameras, which is everywhere but Dixie Highway. You know, the most traveled area. So it alerts us immediately, and the officers can actually go search for that car. So, and the Route 1, the 4 cameras on Route 1 are still months away from being installed. They're ready to be installed, but we have to wait for the IDOT permit.
On the upside, though, we don't get charged for them.
We won't get charged for anything until
Until those
those 4
are installed.
cameras are installed. We're having some pretty good luck with them right now, we're not have to pay for them.
That concludes my report.
All right. Public Works Committee, Trustee Kraus.
Public Works, Water Department, and Sewer Department monthly reports are enclosed for your review. Pre-construction meeting held on Gould Street water main replacement. The
ball's now rolling, the schedule's in close review. They're gonna have to work on the 4th of July parade, and they'll figure it out when it gets closer. Hopefully be done by the 1st of August.
That's changed, yeah.
So I was, so the manufacturer of where the pipe was coming from sold the same 3,000 feet of pipe to two separate people at the same time. We didn't end up with the first order. I did get notified today that the order that is being produced now will be ours, and it should be arriving here either later this week or early next week.
Good.
I talked to M&J Underground that has the contract for Gould Street, and they said once the pipe shows up, they'll be here within a week to begin that project. You will see there's already pipe and fittings and hydrants and things of that nature. They're using the laydown area behind the hut at 533 Reed Street. That's going to be kind of their construction area. They're going to bring, they already got equipment in there and things like that. They're ready to roll. They're just waiting on the pipe to show up. So they're ready to go.
Just want to roll on a Miller Street water main?
Yeah, phase one, design phase one of the design of Miller Street water main is almost complete. We did have a meeting with Baxter and Woodman 2 weeks ago. Since then, we've made a couple more changes. When our water operator got back from WaterCon, he reviewed the plans, and we made a couple more small alterations that they're working on now, but they think that they'll have final design by the middle of June. So they're still rolling along with that.
Penfield STP update, project begins next month. If you guys have been down Penfield, you see all the utility poles. We're getting ready to relocate those. All plans have been approved and permits obtained. We're in the process of paying $800 for one easement and $3,500 on vacant lot. This part of the project will be complete. Bid lighting is scheduled for June 17th. That's all I have.
Economic Development Community Relations Committee, trustee session.
Thank you very much. So first off, we have a spring newsletter update provided by the village clerk.
Excuse me, the newsletter was sent over to the printer this afternoon. It will probably go out, not the end of this week, but the beginning of next week. It'll be a little bit later than anticipated. But it's all complete. Thank goodness.
Indeed, and I will say thank you as well, because I think it looks like a great newsletter, so.
It's a big one, that's for sure.
But the ads are covering the cost of it, so it's not.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of ads this time, so
Yes, you did.
we're in good shape.
Was there ever a final, bring it up? Yeah, with the township, or are we doing this on our own, or is the township got skin in the game, or
We are
what's what?
sharing it with the township. What was our last number? We get 80%?
I thought it was 70/30.
It was 70/30, yeah.
70/30, yeah.
Township's doing one or not.
Yeah, they are. And they're adding our concert series into their newsletter too.
Excellent.
I do have a question for the editor. Yeah, I just want to put on record that the chief is a Cubs fan.
All right.
That got
I
that.
couldn't fit that, so I had to cut it.
She cuts my stuff too, don't feel bad.
I cut more of his than
I
yours.
get cut too.
Sorry.
Oh, good.
I'm a Cubs fan too, so.
Okay, all right, so, thank you, Jeanette. Moving on, spring cleanup day, Saturday, April 30th. There's been some discussion to the extent of the work being planned, need for refreshments, both the beginning and the end, and safety of the workers along roads. The superintendent can provide an update on these items. So Matt.
So there's been emails going back and forth between Ben, the chief, myself, Jeanette. We've been coming up with things that we can hopefully accomplish on that day. Two parks being mulched, Fireman's Park and Depot Park are going to be two of our main, our first things to accomplish, and then we're going to spread out depending on how many people we get with garbage cleanup around. I know we discussed what Lang Fir Forest area back there behind McDonald's in the open fields, Church Road, Cardinal Creek Boulevard, by the school, things like that. I'm trying to categorize them in priority depending on how many people we get. I know the SRO officer was doing sign-up sheets at the school. Yeah, so we'll actually hopefully have some sort of count of who we can anticipate to be there. If they actually show up, that's another story. And hopefully it doesn't turn out like last time where it's just the Public Works Department and a couple trustees. So, yeah, so.
For good weather.
Yeah.
Something that maybe we could do a Facebook blast as well.
You got a rain date?
If he's taking names
Yeah, why not?
of grade school kids and these kids show up to work, how do we get them from the rally point to the work site?
So they
They're not
have,
their own wheels.
so I talked to Officer Hanson last week about it, and he said that he was gonna have a deadline of when the students had to sign up by, so I think once we get that list from them, we can determine at that point, if we have anybody even show up, you know, and what age groups they are and things of that nature. Yeah, we got the six-seater golf cart now. We can-
Yeah, and the two parks, I mean, so like those first starting areas are
Yeah.
right there, very close, so.
Yeah, and that's gonna be the meeting point, what do we determine, about 8:30, I believe,
Yeah,
on,
8:30.
on April 30th at Fireman's Park near the bingo stand.
So you want us to have coffee and donuts for them when they show up? Because kids don't like coffee,
I
Right.
know
You better have
that
some
you were gonna have
popcorn,
water,
Tell
I
him.
think.
Yeah, we can bring water and things like that, that's fine.
The kids can have Buddies or Tony's Pizza afterwards.
Don't tell them that.
Yeah,
You know, if we have a decent idea, I mean, we probably don't wanna bring too many refreshments.
village could
It's
foot
really-
that
it's
bill.
hard
We
to
don't
know
know.
Yeah,
how many people will show up, you know.
Right, that's why the SRO's list is gonna be nice to,
Yeah.
because that's where we're probably gonna get most of our volunteers from.
Mhm.
Hopefully, everybody here shows up and,
Yeah, and John brought up a good idea of maybe we can think about doing a rain date, you know, if something comes up, so maybe we can talk about that one offline.
yeah, okay.
Do you want any kind of lunch, like hot dogs or anything, or just be done and do and go home? Doesn't matter, that's what we were just asking.
I mean, like, I don't dislike the idea of having hot dogs for lunch or something like that. I mean, if we have like a nice little turnout of people come out that are, you know, donating their time to help the community, I think it's a nice capstone to have a little celebration afterwards and say, thank you for your hard work, you know, feel good about what you did today, so, yeah.
And what we can do is gauge how many people showed up to work, and then we go buy those hot dogs that morning. At Waltz.
Joe and I passed out flyers at the job fair on Friday at the high school, and we sort of told the kid that we had lunch there, so.
Oh.
So, yes.
So I guess we'll be making hot dogs that day.
That's a strong
We'll
yes.
figure it out.
Oh, good.
We'll figure it out, Joe.
So hot dogs it is.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring it up at the, we're the 4th of July commission, we're gonna bring it up at the meeting tomorrow too, or on Wednesday, so.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
I'm
so
sure we'll
maybe
pull
the
some
whole
people,
part.
we'll pull some
Definitely.
people from there.
So I
For
hope,
sure.
hope we have a good turnout, and I'm, you know, looking forward to seeing anybody that comes out. And with that, unless you have anything else, Matt,
No, not regarding that.
then that concludes my report.
All right. Any old business to come before the board? Any new business to come before the board?
I got something there. We had a 2-week notice put in through the Public Works Department today. We're gonna, after discussing with the Public Works Committee, some different ideas of approach to advertisement. I started an advertisement this evening through the APWA, which is the American Public Works Association, which it's kind of like the blue line for police departments, things like that. So it's hopefully we can get some, you know, good candidates that have some experience and some background in public works activities. And
Yeah, I opened Indeed this afternoon.
okay. I also pushed it out to M.E. Simpson, which has a very large network in municipality work. Randy Lusk with them, I receive emails from him a few times a week of municipalities around this area that are hiring for various positions. So, just wanted to bring that to the board's attention.
Was there newer candidates or somebody that's old?
He's been here for about 9 months.
Okay, anything else? We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Roll call.
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Stacy?
Yes.
Kraus?
Yes.